Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari ST A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari ST games, some of which I grew up with, and some of which are new to me. Today is kind of a mix, really. This is Missile Command version 2 for the Atari ST. This was programmed in 1987 by Rob, I don't even know, Rob, whatever that is, and Gary Johnson. This came out in 1987, was published by Atari Corporation. So this was a relatively rare first-party game from Atari on the ST. They did a few of these with games that originally came out on the Atari 8-bit that then got upgraded versions on the ST. And they often turned out quite interesting. So this is Missile Command. As you can see at the top here, we've got these menu bars here. These are straight out of the ST's graphical user interface called GEM, which is sort of a layer that runs on top of the operating system, which you never really see the core operating system of the ST. If you see anything, you'll see GEM on top of it. And it was a quick and easy way for people to implement things like drop-down menus and mouse control and stuff like that. But at the same time, it sort of had the same effect that something using default Windows controls does today. To some people, it sort of looked a bit amateurish, but it makes sense, I guess. So here we've got the info panel that we've already seen. We've got a few options. You can play 1 or 2 player. We can turn on and off the various elements of the game, and we can customize when we get bonus points. For now, though, let's just begin. Now, Missile Command, as you might imagine, is an ideal game to play on a computer like the ST because of the mouse. So the original arcade game made use of a trackball, which is sort of the closest thing to a mouse in the arcades, if you like. And sure enough, this game controls really, really nicely with the mouse. Now, the reason I say these Atari ST ports of Atari arcade games were quite interesting in some ways were that in some respects they were superior. So the graphics obviously are quite a bit superior to both the original arcade version and the Atari 8-bit port. But at the other end of the spectrum, the sound effects are atrocious. Now, this is down to the fact that rather than sort of a custom chip like the Atari 8-bits had, the Pokey chip, which handled the sound, among other things, the Atari ST made use of a Yamaha PSG sound chip. I forget the exact model number offhand, but yeah. So it had a sort of off-the-shelf sound chip in it. It's actually a very similar one to what you would find in the Sega Master System, as I recall. Which would explain why some of these sound effects might sound a bit familiar if you have any experience with that platform. Okay. I've never been amazing at Missile Command. I will just add this disclaimer at this point, but I have always enjoyed it. And, you know, if you're having fun, that's all that really matters, isn't it? But yeah, this is not a port I played before. I have pretty extensive experience with the Atari 8-bit version, which you could play with either joystick or a trackball controller if you were lucky enough to have one of those that worked with the Atari 8-bit computers. But today, this version is a first for me. I've played a few of the Atari ports before. The ST version of Asteroids, for example, is quite similar to this. So it's got very nice graphics but atrocious sound effects. And still at its core, it is just the same old version of the arcade game that you're probably already familiar with. Oh dear, that's the end of that. I do like the fast forward thing when you run out of cities though. Okay, let's have one more try at that, and then we will call that a day. Notice the menus didn't come back when we had our game over then. I wonder how you get those back after you're done, if you want to change your settings or if you have to reset the whole game. That was nice. Actually, visual effects on those explosions are quite nice. Okay. Oh no! Oh no! 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 Oh, that was nice. This is, of course, one of many games from the era that kind of was a manifestation of the paranoia over the Cold War and the situation with the Soviet Union at the time. So there were a lot of games in this period that were sort of, I don't know if they were attempting to make sense of the situation is the right description of it, but certainly a lot of games that acknowledged that it was a thing and that people were worried about bad things happening, and things like the threat of intercontinental ballistic missiles. Missile Command, it's worth noting, actually had a whole album, which last time I was at home with my parents, my brother and I actually managed to find the vinyl version of it that we had as kids, and we had a good listen to it. It's not good. It's really not good. But it was for kids, so I suppose we can excuse it. A certain amount of crapness in that regard. But yeah, so far as the album is concerned, it had nothing to do with like the Russians and the Soviets and actual World War III or anything. It was all to do with these spacefaring races dealing with an invasion and that kind of thing. I've messed that up, haven't I? Good and proper. Anyway, yeah. So that's Missile Command. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue the small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.